These are times of democracy. It is unfashionable to use terms like king and queen. But if anyone can be called the queen of confessional poetry in the English language, it is Sylvia Plath. Brilliant student, extraordinary poet, gifted prose writer, drama queen, incurable depressive, spouse of another poet equally famous, martyr to causes best known to herself, Sylvia Plath is a figure like no other in Anglo American poetry. If Sylvia Plath is arguably the finest confessional poet in the English language, Lady Lazarus is again arguably the finest confessional poem. This is because Lady Lazarus explores the ultimate desire of the confessional character, that is, the desire not to be. Lady Lazarus is an explosive exploration of the speaker's incurable fascination with death. Let us scrutinize the title of the poem, Lady Lazarus. I'm never tired of repeating that the title of this famous Plath poem is a good example of the additive title. This is because the word Lazarus never ever occurs in the text of the poem, and hence the title of the poem, Lady Lazarus, adds something significantly new to the semantic content of the poem as generated by the body of the poem. Lady Lazarus. Who is Lazarus? In the Bible, in the Gospel of John, we have the seven signs, and of the seven signs, the most spectacular is the raising of Lazarus, because the raising of Lazarus by Jesus exemplifies his divine power over the ultimate and most implacable enemy of mankind, death. The Gospel of John in 11:1 to 44 describes in some detail how Jesus brought back Lazarus from death after 4 days after his burial. Incidentally, Lazarus was a brother of Mary and Martha, ardent followers of the Lord. The title of the poem under discussion is not merely Lazarus, but Lady Lazarus. Strictly speaking, Lady Lazarus should be the wife of Lazarus. That's how it is in the case of English peers. Lady Mountbatten is the wife of Lord Mountbatten, Edwina, Lady Mountbatten. Lady Willingdon is the wife of Lord Willingdon, Mary, Lady Willingdon. These are two English lords who came to India as viceroys. But I don't think that we have to interpret the title of the poem under discussion in such a strict sense. Lady Lazarus need not be interpreted as meaning the wife of Lazarus. All that the poet means is that the central character in the poem dies and is brought back to life. Thus he is a Lazarus. But unlike the biblical Lazarus, the central character in the poem under consideration is a woman. It is a female Lazarus. So the poet titles the poem Lady Lazarus to make it clear that the person who dies and is brought back to life is not merely Lazarus, but a woman Lazarus, but a female Lazarus. There is one more striking contrast between the biblical Lazarus and the Plath Lazarus. The Lazarus in the Bible and the Lazarus in Plath differ significantly from each other with regard to the nature of the death experienced by the two. The biblical Lazarus dies just like that. He does not want to die, he does not invite death. Death comes to him uninvited. The Lazarus in the Plath poem very much wants to die. Death comes to her by invitation. It is a clear case of suicide, or more correctly, attempted suicide. Thus, while the first Lazarus dies even though he does not desire to die, the second Lazarus dies because she very much wants to die. She attempts to kill herself. The poem under consideration certainly has a very appropriate title, Lady Lazarus. And it is a title which throws light on the numerous themes handled by the body of the poem. And these themes include death, the desire for death, the death wish, the suicidal tendency, the experience of death, the return from death, the reaction of the world, and the second life of the speaker. Before I start reading the body of the poem, I would like to observe that there are some very fine poems about death in the English language. Death is a favorite theme of English language poets. Perhaps it is so with all poets. And in the English language, we have a long and great tradition of the poetry of death. And I shall pinpoint some of the notes of that tradition. And the notes of that tradition include Sonnet 71 of William Shakespeare, Death Be Not Proud of John Donne, On My First Son of Ben Jonson, Lycidas of Milton, Elegy Written in a Country Churchyard of Thomas Gray, Adonais of P.B. Shelley, Annabel Lee of Edgar Allan Poe, O Captain, My Captain of Walt Whitman, Crossing the Bar of Alfred Lord Tennyson, Because I Could Not Stop for Death of Emily Dickinson, Home Burial of Robert Frost, An Irish Airman Foresees His Death of W.B. Yeats, and Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night of Dylan Thomas.